Hey everyone, and welcome back to Forge Gaming. I'm your host Phoenix, and today we're doing something a little different. A couple weeks ago, someone joined my Discord and immediately asked for advice on how to start earning credits in game so they could begin picking up ships using only in-game currency, and I respect that. And as I've mentioned here before, we here at ForgeCore are huge proponents of the idea that you can earn just about every ship in Star Citizen just by playing the game. But I realized something. A step-by-step guide on how to consistently make money right from the start of your Star Citizen career probably isn't out there, especially now that CIG seems to have obliterated the drop rate and sale value of certain materials we used to use to build our fortunes. So I decided to put this little video together in order to help fix that. Now, I want to be clear about this. This video is not about hyper efficiency. This video is about building a clean, repeatable, and approachable gameplay loop that just about anybody with a multi-tool and a starter ship could follow. This is intended to be easy for new or novice players. So if you're into that kind of thing and you want more gameplay tutorial videos that keep things clear and focused, drop the channel a like and make sure to get subscribed so you don't miss it when we drop new ones. Every bit of engagement from you guys helps push these videos out to a wider audience of players who are looking for answers just like you. And without further ado, let's get started with my guide on how to go from 0 to millions in Star Citizen. Now, moving forward from here, we're working under the assumption that you already know how to get from the habitation pods where you spawn in Star Citizen down to the hangar and call your ship out. We're also assuming you've had some flight time and understand most of the basics of flying your ship. We're also working under the assumption that you're starting out with the base amount credits of 20,000. I think that's still it. I know they were talking about raising it to 50,000, but I'm unsure if they've implemented that just yet. If you're pretty inexperienced at flying, that's fine. If you have no gear or equipment, that's also fine and actually preferred for these early stages, because there is a slight chance of death for players that are still getting comfortable with space combat. If you are carrying equipment in your backpack like food or ammo, go ahead and drop those items off at your home base so we don't lose them in case you do die. It may sound stupid, but we're pinching pennies here in the beginning. You can start throwing money around later on. For this first step, you need absolutely zero gear other than your undersuit and your helmet. First thing we'll need to do is take off from our home base hangar using your starter ship. It literally doesn't matter which starter ship you chose to purchase in the pledge store, just so long as it has guns and a quantum drive, which all of them do. As we're heading out of atmosphere, you're going to want to open up your contracts menu. I always just hit F2 and click on the contracts tab of my Mobiglass. By the way, you can enable cruise control, which maintains your ship's current velocity by hitting left alt plus C so long as you're in coupled mode. If you haven't messed with your flight settings, then you'll be in coupled mode by default. Next, you're going to want to make sure you're on the offers section, and you're going to need to scroll down until you get to bounties. If you've done exactly 0 bounties so far in Star Citizen, then you'll have a starter or qualifier bounty that you'll need to complete. I don't remember how much it pays, but it should be in the range of 20 to 30,000 credits or AUEC. If you have already completed that starter bounty, then search for a new bounty on the difficulty label of very low risk target. We call these VLRTs for short. Pay for them should be 19,000 and your target should be located on a neighboring moon or planetary outpost. Once you accept that, you can make sure you track it in your Mobiglass by going over to the Accepted Contracts tab, clicking the contract and hitting track in the bottom right corner. Once your bounty is tracked, you can exit your Mobiglass by hitting your escape key. Now you should see a yellow diamond icon floating around somewhere on your screen. Once you've done that, go ahead and quantum travel to the moon or POI where your bounty contract is labeled as being. Now, if this is your first time engaging in ship-to-ship combat in Star Citizen, don't worry, these low-level bounties are super easy for a couple reasons. First, the ships are really weak. Second, the AI is very basic, and often your bounty targets don't even fire. As you approach your bounty target, you'll be prompted to scan forward target. To do that, just hit your tab key. You'll notice a scanning pulse going outwards that highlights the ground and nearby unidentified objects. Those unidentified objects will be labeled unknown. Generally speaking, we're looking for an unknown label floating a fair distance above the ground. Sometimes your radar doesn't pick up anything, and that's fine though. That's just Star Citizen being a bit buggy. In that instance, just keep flying towards the yellow contract marker on your screen, and eventually a yellow neutralized target label will appear. That's your bounty. As you approach, keep periodically hitting the T key on your keyboard. Once you're close enough for locking on, you'll see a little box close in around your target. Keep approaching your target until a little red or green circle appears somewhere in or around that red box. Now by default, your ship is set to have what's called lead pip targeting, meaning that little circle is attempting to predict where your enemy will be if you were to fire your weapons at any moment. So you'll want to start aiming for that little circle. And in just a few words, whenever that circle is green, fire, and when it's red, don't. One thing to watch out for here, sometimes your enemy will fire off some missiles. These can and will kill your ship if not dealt with though, and the easiest way to deal with them is by hitting the H key on your keyboard. Just tap it a couple of times and your ship will deploy flares, aka decoys, that will act to divert any inbound missiles. Otherwise, in a nutshell, at this bounty difficulty level, all you need to do is keep trying to keep your nose pointed at your target. You can press and hold the shift key to boost, and boost applies to all maneuvers you do, so play around with it, but we're not getting into the weeds on how to improve your flight skills in this video. That's a whole other video that I haven't made yet. If you die, it's not a problem. We didn't lose anything other than the 10 to 15 minutes it takes to reset. Just keep in mind, there is a learning curve to ship combat, especially if you've never played a flight sim before, but if you want to play Star Citizen, you're going to have to learn it eventually, so now's just as good a time as any. Once you've downed your bounty contract, go ahead and start flying skywards, as we're going to have to reset and queue up the next bounty, so I hope you enjoyed that. If you didn't, don't worry, we only have 2 more of these to do. And remember, we're not looking to advance to more difficult bounties, we're just securing a few extra credits right now in order to fund the next part of our money-making journey. Just for fun, I wanted to see how quickly I can make 100k using this method in a starter ship, and in total I ran 6 of these low tier bounties in 25 minutes and 30 seconds. That includes travel time and a quick AFK. So once you get the hang of it, technically you could use this method to start working your way to 1,000,000 credits in about 5 hours. But that's boring and way less productive than what we'll be doing next. Once you've done 3 of these VLRT bounties, you're ready for the next step. Now, I always set Area 18 as my starter city. It's my favorite and most easy to navigate. And for this next step, I suggest coming over to Area 18 and setting up shop at Bajini Point, which is the space station that orbits the planet ArcCorp. And I recommend it because it's the easiest place to do this next stage of making money. Now, given that you started with 20,000 credits and you've done those 3 bounties, you should have around 77,000 credits, which is technically overkill for what we're doing, but I wanted you to have a credit buffer in case something goes wrong. Once you're at Bajini Point, you're going to want to head to the lobby. Just in case something happens, go ahead and set your spawn point here. You can do that by visiting the clinic in the lobby and heading over to this computer terminal. Select Regeneration and transfer Imprint to Bajini Point. Now if you accidentally die, you'll come straight back here. Next, we're going to want to head over to these elevators in the hallway and take those elevators down to the station's cargo deck. Once you get there, hang a slight left out of the elevator and head towards the ship rental desk. Ignore the fellow behind the counter and just move over to this computer screen and interact with it using the F key. And don't get distracted by all the neat ships, we're here for the boring stuff. On the left side of the screen, select MISC, that's M-I-S-C, and then on the right side of the screen, select Hull A. The Hull A is a great little hauling ship that is both affordable to rent or buy, and has surprisingly good money-making potential for new players. You're going to want to select a 1-day rental for just over 34,000 credits. Just a heads up, before you do this, please make sure you have a few hours available to play so we can really make the rental worth money. Next, we're going to want to make our way over to the cargo supply store over here. And then we're going to need to interact with this terminal to purchase a pyro multi-tool and a tractor beam attachment. Once you've done that, go ahead and head back to the elevators. Before you get there, stop at this little item terminal and get your multi-tool out, equip it to your undersuit hip, and drag the tractor beam attachment down to it to equip it. Then hop in the elevator and take it back down to the lobby. After that, you can start heading to the hangars where you can retrieve your ship from the ASOP terminal. Once that's done, head down to your small hangar. When you're down there, go ahead and hop into your ship, but don't go anywhere. We actually have some work to do right here in Bajini Point. From the pilot seat, go ahead and open up your Mobiglass. Select Contracts, then select Offers, then go ahead and scroll until you see options that say Hauling. Now, if you haven't done any hauling contracts, much like the bounty situation, you'll have to do a qualifier or trial contract before we can get started. If I remember correctly, the contract starts here at Bajini Point and ends at Area 18, and only requires that you move 4 SEU of cargo, which is super easy to complete. If you've already done that starter contract, then we'll need to select the contracts that you want to do. Now, these are very specific rookie rank contracts here that we want to take, everything else we want to avoid. We're only looking for the rookie rank contracts that pay 50,000 AUEC with a pickup location in Bajini Point and a drop-off location at Riker Memorial Spaceport in Area 18. Each of these will ask for you to deliver anywhere from 7 to 11 SCU of cargo. And there should be 4 of these contracts available. You'll want to select them all. We can also take one more contract if it's the right size. It should be right around those 50k contracts and it should pay 43,000, but it should ask you to deliver 18 SCU of cargo from Bajini Point down to Area 18. If it's above 18 SCU, don't bother with it, we don't have enough room. If this is your first time hauling, go ahead and accept that starter contract, then turn your ship on. We're going to get the hull lay into position and make this as easy as possible. First step, go ahead and take off, keeping your landing gear down, and rotate your ship so that it is no longer facing the exit of the hangar, and that the rear of the ship is facing the cargo elevator like this. You'll now want to push left Alt plus K. This engages the hull lay's party trick, wherein an internal spindle begins to extend and the ship releases its external cargo grid. Back up fairly close to the freight elevator like so, making sure not to go into the freight elevator, and land your hull lay right there. Next, you're going to get out and head over to this computer terminal. Interact with it by pushing the F key. Sometimes, well, most times, the first time you interact with the freight elevator terminal, it just spins like it's loading up and gets stuck there. If that happens to you, just back out of it by holding the S key to walk away, then go back into it and the problem will have resolved itself. On the left-hand side of the screen at the bottom, you'll notice a down arrow key if the elevator is in the up position, and you'll notice an up arrow key if the elevator is in the down position. If it is in the up position, go ahead and click that down arrow key. This moves it to the down position. Once the elevator is in the down position, you'll notice the stuff on the right side of the screen is now bright rather than grayed out. Go ahead and click this icon in the upper right corner. This filters your warehouse to mission items only, and then click Select All up at the top. Then click Move to Elevator on the bottom right. Once you've done that, go ahead and click the up arrow on the left-hand side of the screen. This, you guessed it, moves the elevator to the up position. You can walk away from the screen while it's loading, and shortly you should see your freight elevator rise back up, this time with boxes. Now, if you have those 4 or 5 missions, now's our time to add a smidge of efficiency to what we're doing. If you position your hull lay well enough, then you can stand basically in one central position and just swing boxes from left to right in 2 stages. I generally like to form a giant pile of cargo right in front of the cargo grid, which again is on the sides of the ship on these flat platforms. Then once I have a large pile, I'll start attaching each box to the grid in a simple fluid motion. This is the fastest way I've found to do this with handheld tools. Once the one side is filled, then I move on to the other side and repeat the process, making sure to prioritize the larger boxes going onto the ship before any of the smaller ones go on. If you're just doing the basic starter mission, ignore most of what I said. Efficiency doesn't really matter when you're only moving 4 boxes. But keep those tactics in mind for when you come back after you complete that starter contract. Once you're all loaded up, go ahead and get back into your ship and hop in the pilot seat. Power up your ship and call ATC using left Alt plus N, and then start heading out of the hangar. Once you're clear of the hangar, start making your way to the planet ArcCorp, which is right next to the station, and set up a quantum travel destination to Area 18. Now, if you're new to Area 18 and don't know exactly where the spaceport is, my best recommendation is to look for a string of faintly glowing green lights going from the ground to the sky. Wait until you're fairly close from where those lights meet the ground and call for a hangar through ATC. Now, you'll be given a small hangar, but the following principle still applies. Once you're in the hangar, you'll want to, once again, orient the back of your ship towards your freight elevator. This just makes it easier to transfer all those boxes. Once you've landed, just reverse the process of loading. Unload each box and place it in the cargo elevator. Be careful not to tractor beam the bottom row of the boxes before you take off the top row, because sometimes if you do this, the box will fall and glitch through the hangar floor. And if you lose too many boxes, you can't get credit for the contract. Once you've loaded your cargo onto the freight elevator, head over to the console and lower it into the warehouse. When you do, you'll get a contract review screen where you can check and see what all cargo didn't make it. Click Submit, and you're good to go. Just a disclaimer, if you're missing 20% of the boxes from a contract for one reason or another, do not click Submit. Doing so will vastly and disproportionately reduce your hauling rep, too many invalid submissions, and you won't be allowed to haul cargo for a few days. Now, I can make this into a much longer video by explaining in depth how to advance through the cargo hauling career path, but this video is getting a little long as it is, and realistically, you don't need that info right now. But I'll make a follow-up video in a couple weeks about that advancement pathway. But let's take a look at how much money you could make using this gameplay loop, plus take a quick look at where it goes after that. Realistically, you can probably get one loop of this cargo route done in about 20 minutes. If you're stacking those 5 rookie rank contracts, that means you're making 243,000 credits every 20 minutes. Once you submit your contracts, you just head back up to Bajini Point and you do it again. If you're just running these back to back, then it's realistic to make a little over 729,000 credits an hour, which is a significant sum for new players. Now, my recommendation is to run this loop for a few hours and buy yourself a Hull A from Lorville over on Hurston once you have 1.7 million credits. That way you can run this loop anytime you want and you won't feel so pressured to optimize your time so much. Or you can run this loop for 5 to 6 hours and purchase yourself an Argo Raft for 3.5 million. Personally, I believe that if you want to open up more advanced and higher paying cargo routes, then the best move would be to skip buying the Hull A and just save up for the Argo Raft. Remember, you can always rent the Hull A as many times as you need if you don't want to run cargo for 5 to 6 hours in a single day, which is totally understandable as running cargo really isn't terribly riveting gameplay. After the raft, if you still want to run cargo, then the next sensible purchase would be either the C2 from Crusader Industries or the MISC Hull C. Both are just under 20 million credits. The Hull C can make you more money technically, up to 2 million an hour under the right circumstances, but the Hull C has no other use cases other than cargo hauling. Whereas I've seen the C2 earn as much as 1 million credits an hour doing cargo hauling, but it requires more quote-unquote work, but the C2 is technically a multi-role ship and can be used in various areas of the game. I actually have review videos on my channel for the Raft, the C2, and the Hull A, and if you want to hear my thoughts on those ships, be sure to check them out by visiting my channel's video page, or you can just click the links in the description. Before I sign off today, I ask that you hit that subscribe button if you appreciated the video, and hit that like button to let YouTube know we did a good job. As always, thank you all very much for watching, fly safe out there, and I'll see you in the verse. Phoenix out.